video we will be explaining the exponential growth and decay. What is it about? Example, uses, having the specific case of Chernobyl.
For defining what is an exponential function, we are going to show you the basic graph, showing you the reference point and its domain and range, along with their other characteristics.
An exponential function is referred to have an independent variable, in this case written as x for an exponent, having as reminder that x is always a real number.
The written function is shown as this. A represents the base, followed by the rules which a is bigger than 0 and a is not equal to 1.
The reference points when graphing are 0 as x, 1 as y, and 1, base, having the characteristic of never touching 0, neither in growth and decay functions.
The domain is characterized for being all real numbers, from negative infinity to infinity. And this is guided by the horizontal asymptote, which is y equal 0.
Chernobyl was the greatest nuclear catastrophe in history. On April 26, 1986, the fourth block in Ukraine nuclear plant of Chernobyl at 120 kilometers from the capital exploded by envelope healing of the fuel and no stabilized infrastructure. When elaborating tests, the first explosion was only chemical, and after seconds, the second explosion had place having all the characteristics of an atomic explosion. Radioactivity spread to the outside, affecting all the environment, reaching to Scandinavia, Czechoslovakia, and Austria, affecting near people, increasing problems with nervous systems, tumors, and disorders.
This was an exponential growth, in other words, a faster growth that multiplies consecutive. But we will show an exponential decay in order to see how much time will it last to drop down the normal level of the substances in the atmosphere after the event. The explosion on the 1986 in the Soviet Union released 1,000 kilograms of radioactive cesium-137 into the atmosphere. This material had a half-life of 33 years, was now 10 times the normal level. Since what the exponential growth showed that the atoms multiplied by each when they had contact, increased the potential of the radioactive material. We want to know the concentration level of cesium-137 to return in a normal level. T equal time. Since it's a half-life, it represents as 1/2. We solved with the exponential, clearing and solving time with natural logarithm. This is the equation to model the decay of the cesium-137. Y0 equal is the material we start with, which is 10 times the normal level. We solve with natural logarithm, making basic algebra and solving. Now we know it will take 110 years for the radiation to be a normal level again.
Other related or situation with exponential growth and decay was the Second World History nuclear accident, which was at Fukushima. Originated by an earthquake of 8.9 degrees close to northeastern Japan, causing tsunami that crashed at the nuclear power station. Starting with a hydrogen released other gases as well as radioactive substances such as plutonium. This is an example of exponential growth since there were many gases released in the environment, thus causing the atoms increase by combination of different substances. Another simple example is a real situation that happens in real life. In like the concentration of drugs, doctors know how much existing drugs in a patient's blood. After a certain time, it is a good example to symbolize the decrease of the current size to some other amount of possible interest using the logic of exponents. That is formulated as an exponential.
Our conclusion regarding the mad global environment consequences and impact of the use of nuclear energy is that exponential growth is applied in situations where the growth is potential to interest and the exponential decay is also proportional to the other variables. This model is often used for the radioactive decay, concentration of drugs in blood, currency, and other situations. The nuclear energy creates a lot of pollution in the environment in a matter of seconds, and it takes several years for it to disappear. This energy is not clean energy because the nuclear centrals generate radioactive residues whose danger stays around for thousands of years, with no result ways to be eliminated.
We are aware of the use of the nuclear energy plant in the town of Punta Limón of Alto Lucero municipality of Gutierrez Barrios in the state of Veracruz. It is confirmed that the plant generates 3.2% of the energy in the whole country. We don't think it's safe because investigators have said that it's the worst plant managed because the safety measures are not being followed, so we don't agree on it being there at all. The real cause by which the explosion occurred was because the superiors wanted to make some tests with the nuclear plant. For it to be a safe test, the energy of the reactor had to be between 700 and 1000 megawatts. In this case, the energy was in 200. The operator shut down the reactor to start again, since the energy was dropping really fast and without waiting the necessary time, which caused a chemical reaction where the radioactive material spread. To prevent it from happening, they could have just followed the safety measures and let the reactor shut down completely for it to cool down. The radiation did come to Mexico, since there was a case the same year in which the powdered milk that was imported from Ireland was contaminated by the radioactive cloud of Chernobyl. The main consequences were a lot of deaths, diseases, and even passed through generation, abandoned cities, and a possible lesson for the other nuclear plants.
Weapons are the most destructive weapons of all. They cause deadly diseases and death. Some of the consequences are severe incurable diseases, death, weakening in the ozone layer, and decay of the ecosystems. The consequences are too serious as it puts the lives of the others and future generations at very high risk. One solution could be to build a plant from some sturdy material, or at least to slightly reduce the amount and power of the energy.
Well, finally, there were some difficulties working on this way, and we shall both days before the due date, and it was not too much of my liking since we have different schedules, activities that prevent us from seeing each other a little difficult in the aspect of communication. And thank you.
In conclusion, I didn't like this project because I think we had a lot of trouble doing it and it was really difficult because of the different schedules and all of those things.
I did not like this project because of the complications of communication and agreements on how to do the work or how to divide it. I also did not like how we had to do a project with students of different programs because since the beginning the indications were not clear on which language it had to be done, and so for the other students of the different program it had to be in Spanish, and for us it had to be in English, so there was a confusion with that.
Indeed, there were some complications in the matter of communication, as well as the difference in activities and schedules that prevent us to work stable as a team, as well adding the distance between us. It was not really comfortable, but somehow we managed to complete this task successfully, and it was a really great experience. In order to communicate with our teammates to carry out this multicultural project, we used Google Docs of the institutional Google Mail and WhatsApp to maintain an easy and faster communication, as well as keep reminders and organizing better in all aspects.